Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about Borderlands 4 and we're going to be on PC Gamer today. This is by Andy Chalk. Thank you once again for the article. It'll be linked down in the description if you want to check out yourself or if you just want to read along. The title goes, Borderlands 4 will cut back on toilet humor, says Gearbox. If the word skibbity ships in the game under my watch, I'm going to cry real tears. Borderlands 3 was basically non-stop fart jokes, but Borderlands 4 is aiming for something a little higher. And I would definitely agree with that. Borderlands 3 was a lot of them trying to be funny, but in a very crude way, I guess. And it's not that I don't like fart jokes and the 12-year-old humor. It's that it's got to be a little more interspersed with some other things, and Borderlands 3 was basically non-stop that from everyone that talks about it. So it's definitely good if that is true, if they're going to cut down on that. Because a good fart joke or a good, potty humor, that's good, but it has to be every once in a while, not the only thing. Before we continue on, I'd like to remind everyone, please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoy it. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and once we do, we're going to be doing a Q&A video, so please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Everything we've seen about Borderlands 4 so far, which to be fair isn't much, very strongly suggests that yes, it will be a Borderlands game, but some things are changing. As we said with the first Borderlands 4 trailer dropped at the Game Awards last week, the art style has made the previous games so visually distinct appeared to be fading into the background. And earlier today, narrative director Sam Wilker said on X that toilet humor, so prevalent in Borderlands 3, is going to be dialed back too, pretty dramatically from the sounds of it. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I necessarily agree that the art style has made it distinct. Like, has it gone down? I guess it has definitely gone more realistic the more the games have gone on. Like the shaded style of Borderlands has definitely been a little muted in the last few games. Though to be fair, the most recent one, the one that they based it on Dungeons and Dragons and Tiny Tina, that one was very stylized. So maybe they're just trying to bring it back after the pre-sequel in Borderlands 3. Because I remember it being kind of muted in those types of games, but it does feel like they're kind of bringing that type of back. But they're also trying to be slightly more serious. So it's hard to say if the comic book stylized visual aspect is going to work with Borderlands in a more serious setting, but only time will tell at this point. I don't think anyone would say that Borderlands was ever a serious game series, but Borderlands 3 is a bit too much, to put it mildly. Yes, no one will say Borderlands is serious, but it is definitely getting too much, I think, at this point. It's stuck in the late 2000s when the surface level vulgarity was enough to qualify as edgy. Borderlands 3 is seriously obsessed with turds, and with the series was first convinced. We wrote in our 2019 review, it stuck in a time where memes lasted months rather than days, when referential humor was still a novelty and not exhausting, when you could point at something that with the slightest bit abnormal or gross and call it a joke. That is true. When Borderlands 1 and 2 came out, things like memes and stuff like that lasted sometimes half a year. Nowadays, memes are like at best a week before it's moved on. So it does feel like it is definitely dated in that way. But to be fair as well, there are a lot of things where memes come and go, but they like have comebacks. They're there for a week and then gone for a couple months and then back again for a day and then gone for a couple months and then back again for 2 days. It does feel like they come and go nowadays instead of just sticking with one thing. It's a lot more flowy and some like a bigger flow state with memes, I guess. But it definitely doesn't work in a video game way because video games are not flow statey unless you're like a live service game. But like even then I say that you can't even do that with the types of writing you can do. Like it's still very much stuck in that way, so hopefully it will be a little more modernized. That style of comedy hasn't aged particularly well even then, and 5 years down the road I imagine it hasn't gotten any better. Luckily, Borderlands 4 appears to be aiming higher on the comedy front. Narrative director Sam Wilker said today that he has gotten to work with some of the funniest people I know as contract writers on the game, but in response to someone who expressed hope for dark humor instead of fart jokes, he replied, not at liberty to talk much about the content of Borderlands 4, but I remain firm in my criticism of Borderlands 3's overabundance of toilet humor. Yeah, I mean, dark humor I think would actually really work in Borderlands. It kind of already had a lot of dark humor in it, but it definitely feels like dark humor is kind of the way to go for Borderlands 4 because it just kind of fits in that way. The biggest problem, though, I would say, is that you can't go too dark because the biggest problem that you could have is that Borderlands 4 is still a very non-serious game. So if you get too serious, I think the writing wouldn't keep up with it. Because like when you have the graphic style of Borderlands, it's even though the comic book shading style is definitely not nearly as unique or just hard, it's still a very cartoony style type of game, so you can't go too serious. But the dark humor would probably work a lot better than fart jokes, I feel like, especially in the current climate right now of when Borderlands 4 is coming out next year, because I think a lot of people are kind of just done with that for now. I'm sure it'll be able to come back sometime later, but right now people are not really into that type of humor. So I feel like it's a good step to go into the more dark humor or serious jokes. I guess it's kind of weird to say serious jokes, but a more sophisticated humor, I would say, with a fart joke or a poop joke every once in a while. Like if the game is 10 hours long, maybe once every 4 hours you put a fart joke so people can be like, ha, that type of thing, you know? Because, it's not dead in terms of that type of humor, but it definitely feels like Borderlands 3 was way too much. Least there be any doubt as to where Winkler, oh gosh, I'm so sorry about this guy's name. I'm so sorry. I cannot pronounce it. Stands on the matter. He is somewhat more pointed in another post. I'm not going to say there's no toilets, but if the word skibbity ships in the game under my watch, I'm going to cry real tears. Paul Tacey joked that we're going to have a gun called Hawk 2A, and the fellow dev asked me if this was real, and I wanted to put my head down in the sink grinder. I mean, honestly, if a gun was called Hawk 2A, that would be kind of funny, I think. Like, having a gun name, I think, as a joke would be kind of funny. The problem is that, like, the word skibbity and stuff like that, like, that's probably a longer joke. A one gun named something, I don't think that's going to be that bad, honestly. I think that's kind of like a funny nod to the current situation of when this game was made, but the problem is when it's said out loud, you know what I mean? When a gun name it's just a gun name. Most people probably don't even read the gun names. So like only a few people will actually see that. But if you have a joke about skibbity toilets, I think that would be much worse than just a simple name of a gun. So this is the Twitter post, or X post. Sam, Borderlands 4 is our most ambitious game yet. In service of that, I'm happy to say that I've gone to work with some of the funniest people. I know as contract writers, I'll be retweeting them as they post about it, though not all may still be on this site. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, and then someone responds, so far every trailer has dropped a more serious / dark vibe. Are we up for dark humor instead of fart jokes this time around? Please say yes. And I kind of agree with this guy, though I do still say one fart joke every once in a while is fine. It's just the problem is that it's been basically that's the only type of humor they've had in the recent past. In the recent couple games, at least. Not at liberty to talk much about the content of Borderlands 4, but I remain firm in my criticism of Borderlands 3's overabundance of toilet humor. So you're saying I won't be able to use the poop poop farty 4000 while doing a mission to clean up porta potties with my companion Skibbity toilet? Oh god. I'm not going to say there's no toilets, but if the word Skibbity ships in the game under my watch, I'm going to cry real tears. Oh yeah, Paul Tassi joked that we're going to have a gun called Hawk 2A, and a fellow dev asked me if it was real, and I wanted to put my hand down in the sink grinder. I mean, like I said, I don't think a gun name would be that bad, but I understand his sentiment on that. That's good. No, that's good news. I like scatological humor as much as the next guy, but it's a rickety frame to build a narrative on. Yeah, I agree. And at some point, enough is enough. Pull my finger was funny when my grandpa did it, but I also was 8. And he didn't do it over and over repeatedly for 30 hours. I didn't expect Borderlands 4 will be a sophisticated game in any sense, and we we're all probably to be disappointed if it was. Stepping up from the endless litany of poop jokes is definitely a movement in the right direction. I agree. I agree with the writer here. I don't want Borderlands to be sophisticated. I just want it to be not constant poop jokes all the time, every time, for the entire game. Even Borderlands 1 and 2 wasn't that. So, and those are what people, for a lot of people, are their favorite Borderlands game, is 1, 2, and the Tiny Tina one, for a lot of people. Back in PAX panel in September, Winkler said something similar, though less direct. Okay. We want to make sure the world is reactive and the world is grounded, Winkler said. While we keep our humor, that brings a lot of people coming back to the franchise in the game. We want to make sure that it's situational, that it emerges naturally. So while we're building these characters, we are always making sure they have strong personalities. that they will react differently to different situations, that we see the effects of that. Borderlands 4 is set to drop sometime in 2025. That's good. I don't know if I agree that I want Borderlands to be grounded, because Borderlands is not a realistic setting, I would say, but I understand what he's trying to say, that he doesn't want it to be over the top constant jokes. There needs to be some situations where it is somewhat serious while people's humor can be brought up in a natural sense. So I hope that they are able to do it. I personally won't be playing Borderlands 4 right away, because I just simply do not trust them. Even on the side of the narrative, I haven't enjoyed the gameplay of Borderlands in a long time. And even though it is true Borderlands is fun with friends, any game can be fun with friends, and if I can't enjoy a game solo, then I don't generally play that game, because any game can be fun with friends. So it's just one of those games that I'm probably going to wait on it, see what they're actually doing with the gameplay, see if it's any different at all. I'm not saying you need to reinvent the gameplay, but I would like some more interesting changes. And I hope to God they've changed the UI, because that UI is terrible. It hasn't been good, and it was bad in Borderlands 1. I hope they change the UI. But thank you everyone for watching today's video on Borderlands 4. I'd like to remind everyone, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Comment down below as well if you're going to be playing Borderlands 4 right away, or if you've stopped playing Borderlands, at which Borderlands you stopped playing them at. I personally stopped really at Borderlands 3. I was not into it at all. But if you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. Thank you everyone for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye everyone.